5 or 6 years ago, BBC Worldwide, the commercial arm of the BBC, was looking for ways to increase profits, increase sales, etc. Classic company strategic rethinking. And then we looked at all the various theories that we've seen together, and then we arrived at core competencies, or strategic intent core competencies, and this is how we applied it in practice. So the first thing is we sat down, senior management team, and we asked ourselves, okay, what are the core competencies of BBC Worldwide? And as happens with any organization, when you ask that question, people tend to reply with, well, this is what we do. We buy TV programs and we sell them globally to either other broadcasters or our own channels, and we publish books about them, and we organize live events around them. Now, can you see that when you pose to the words here, and my pushback was, now these are not core competencies. This is what you do, not who you are. Or it's not at the core of who you are. And so usually there's a little bit of a puzzle reaction, then we go one step further. And then one of the things we realize is, actually, if you really drill, the core competencies was buying quality content was one. So sourcing, buying quality content, being able to sort through a very large output from BBC and picking the ones that are most likely to succeed internationally. The second is first-rate editorial policies, so recutting it or organizing collections, etc. The third was great at selling globally, having a good footprint of people who were accustomed to carrying a catalogue of very wide-ranging outputs. And then the core of that was unique deal structuring skills. And that is historical from TV, when you have to organize windows, and you give this program in this territory for this particular release date for this amount of time, etc., etc. And then when we looked at these four, we realized, okay, if these are the core competencies, then yes, they do manifest themselves in each of the various business in different ways. And then we kind of went tabula rasa and said, now if you look at that, is there one that we're missing to really step change our game? And very quickly, one of the things we arrived at is when, actually, yes, great brand management skills. We buy the content, we editorialize it, we package it, we sell it globally, and we structure the deal. But how about brand management, which is taking a slightly more long-term view of the potential of each of these titles? And some of you may recognize or may be familiar with, Top Gear or Doctor Who or Dancing with the Stars or Earth, etc. And so the identification here of another core competencies. Okay, what do we do? Well, you go and create it. In this instance, it means, you recruit some new people who bring that skill. You train the ones who have it to a degree to have it to a superior level, and then presto, very soon you've got these 5 core competencies at your essence. Okay, and then for those of you who follow a bit the news, in the 3 years after that, the turnover of BBC Worldwide doubled and its profit quadrupled. So not necessarily a bad return on a few days' work. And the reason I mention a few days is, and it's one of the reasons why core competencies, I think, is a fantastic way to think about strategy setting, but is not often used by large strategic consulting firms. It's because you could probably tell from that what we had was very senior conversations between a reasonably experienced consultant and senior people at the company, talking about nearly philosophical or therapeutic notions like, who are we, what are we about, which is very different from the classic other strategies that involve lots of juniors gathering lots of data. And so strategic intent core competencies, you may not have heard of it if you work in strat consulting or if you're reasonably junior in a corporate context. It tends to be something that really works when you're playing senior to senior. But senior to senior, experience doesn't wait for time. So if you start applying it now, doesn't matter how old you are, you can extract some massive insight from it. Give it a go.